The motivation for this project was to test the effect of gaze tracking in video games and its effect on player immersion when used for adapting the narrative of an experience. We would test this between a condition using eye tracking and one which did not. Moreover, we wanted to implement the alternative input modality as a diegetic interaction with the game world. So what are diegetic interactions? Well, being diegetic is the quality of things such as audio and visuals being present in the actual world of the medium. This could be in-game maps, HUDs, or music that is present for the character rather than just the player. Diegetic means that it becomes part of the world. In respect to gaze tracking, it means that environment and characters should react as if the player's gaze is an actual part of the game world, rather than just an additional control input. Earlier research had looked into making gaze-based social interactions in games, such as the Royal Corgi. However, we found no research that used gaze to branch narratives in a more structural way that meaningfully changed the setting and responses. Many different narrative structures have been postulated by designers, each with their own different rules, drawbacks, and benefits. Due to the diegetic nature we wanted for the gaze interactions, we decided to make a first-person game, such that the eye-tracking input would be more directly translatable to the in-game character's eyes. As we wanted to make a narrative branching game, we took inspiration from the Stanley Parable, which is a comedic walking simulator game with a branching, looping narrative structure. Walking simulator games are often story-driven and exploratory, and are well suited for these kinds of branching narrative structures. Using the initial design decisions, we started brainstorming different ideas, themes, and mechanics. This ultimately led to an organic set of design pillars consisting of narrative ideas, game mechanics, and a visual identity that we set as our goals. For the narrative structure, we decided on having some specific highlighted object interactions decide the course of the story for the player. We ended up calling these objects the major objects, which we implemented 2 sets of. The first object was a bundle of stacked TVs, and the second object was a set of 2 objects with each their own outcome, a snowman and a sunbed and parasol. Given the different combinations of paying attention to or ignoring the different major objects, the narrative and environment would branch to 4 different endings. The premise behind the narrative was built around the trope of a godlike trickster and that of being inside his mind, which allowed for some imaginative freedom. This idea evolved into the player being a figment of this trickster's imagination, and that the player would then either impress or disappoint him through their interactions, which the voiceover would comment on. For the gameplay and level design, we segmented areas such that players would have to interact with the major object and explore the area before proceeding. To reward exploration, we added minor objects to the environment that would prompt smaller comedic responses when gazed at.
I see you.
Given the narrative setting, we decided on a dreamy forest environment, making the trickster god be one with a natural affinity. The art style we settled on was low poly and details through visual effects, volumetric lighting, and some post-processing. During development in the Unity engine, we utilized an iterative implementation process with ongoing internal and external playtesting. This ensured that bugs and other issues were found early and could be fixed continuously. In terms of research, we found no significant differences in player immersion when using eye tracking input. Some of the participants mentioned that it was not always clear when their gaze had an impact in the game. This may have been solved by adding diegetic feedback like in-game animations when objects were gazed at. However, during the evaluation, people mentioned they really liked the game, especially the visuals and the narrative. Some people even wanted to play the game multiple times to experience all the endings.
I think I'm gonna keep you.